Schnorr Farms, they are going to, they've actually, I copied and pasted every single one of your questions that you had about GMOs and sent them to her. So God love her, she went through every single one of them. Actually, I have them all here. She is going to attempt to make sure that she covers those as you guys are going through this process and explaining this information to you guys.
Guys,
We have guests in our building. And I just need 3 quick behaviors that we expect when we have guests in our building. Give me one. Somebody. You don't know your expectations. Yes.
Eye contact.
Eye contact, thank you. Give me another one. Respect meaning what? Your full attention. And last one, JT.
Body language and actively listening.
Where's Miss Faust? Oh, that's good job. Body language and actively listening.
That's a brownie.
Any questions about the expectations that we have for you right now as a student? Okay.
Hi, I'm Anna Schnorr. This is actually Chris Schnorr. We call him Chris because his name is Philip, however, which is probably going to be important here in just a minute. We are the owners and operators of the Schnorr Farms East. So, which I know you guys had a few questions of, and I've been through them all, what she said. We will have time at the end. If you guys have any other questions, maybe write them down. If it's something that you think is an immediate question right away, give me a hand and we'll see if I can answer them for you. He definitely has the technical side. Chris does all of, he runs everything outside of the office. The dirt, the fields, tractors, the employees, that's his job. My job for the most part is in the office. If it's on paper, I probably handle that at some point in time. All the regulations, all the bookwork, all the logging, everything that we have to do to report back to FDA, FDA, EPA. There's a list, but that's my job. So that's one of the reasons why I'm talking to you guys is I get to deal with a lot of the regulations, which is kind of what you guys are dealing with. But he's got some of the more technical field stuff. So those questions I'm going to defer to him. But that's the base of Schnorr Farms. Me and Chris, and we've got 3 kids. Shelby, Jeffrey, and Hannah. Shelby's 14, Jeffrey's 11, and Hannah is 8. They are the 4th generation. Husband is the 3rd generation on this property. The Schnorrs have been farming for over 5 generations. They go all the way back to Europe. They trace it to Germany, Russia, right? Heidelberg area of Germany. So they've been farming for a very, very long time. Chris's grandpa had 9 brothers that were farming in the Greeley area. 3 of the brothers broke off of the main farm and came up to Fort Collins. The other 2 brothers, they all kind of separated, and anyway, our main farm was established in 1946. He was born and raised on the property. He's never left his parents. His mom is still there. But his grandfather moved to Fort Collins. Philip, otherwise known as Chris, is the 3rd generation. He's the latest generation to run this farm. We have anywhere from 10 to 35 employees at a time. Depends on what crops we have, what time of year. This is our slower time of year. Obviously, there's not a whole lot we can do right now. We do have a full winter crew running right now in the field spraying manure as we speak, hopefully. And then working on everything that we broke during harvest. Because harvest is kind of a duct tape and keep going type time. And then winter, we fix it all. We have used a lot of technology that not a lot of farms have access to. Chris and I have traveled all over the world. We've been to Germany twice. We meet with engineers, we meet with technical people. Technology is a huge part of ag in the future. You know, right now, and the way the ag has gone in the past, you got to keep moving, you got to keep changing. GMOs definitely fall in that category of technology. And we like to stay on the cutting edge. Our tractors are no older than 2 years old in order to We roll them every couple of years to maintain the most current software we have. The auto track systems on our computer, on our tractors, so they can run it themselves with operators inside. But our irrigation systems, we can actually pull them up on our phones. So we have pivots that are running. We can turn them on and off and switch direction. They send us text messages if they're broke down. So that helps us with our record keeping. All of those logs that we have to keep for the government, the different programs, and everything else, records are huge. They want to know what we sprayed, when we sprayed, how we sprayed. That's all logged in our sprayer's computer. We can download that, and I can send them a report. It's very different from how they used to do things. We do still utilize old school farming techniques. We've got several of our fields that are still flood irrigated. It is not the most water effective way, and we are working really hard to try and get some of that out. Mostly because A, there's not as much water as there used to be, and that's always an issue. Labor is hard to find, and finding people that still know how to use siphon tubes is tricky. All three of my children, however, know how to run a siphon tube out of the ditch by our house. As the size of the farm gets bigger, however, this is still a family farm. We work, especially during harvest, close to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't stop. Even during the winter, we work 6 days a week. We try and take Sundays off other than hauling silage. The cattle feed. The cows don't take Christmas off, so they don't take any time off. So they get hauled feed every day. Since we do that, we try and keep our employees' families as involved as we can. We try and do barbecues and stuff like that. You know, we'll try and keep them involved so that they know what their spouse or what their family member is going through, and try and keep them involved in everything that we do as well. And our kids are very involved. My daughter operates most of the equipment that we've got out there. 14-year-old. She wants to learn to drive a truck this year. See how that goes. What we grow this year, we're looking at about 4,000 irrigated acres. Some of that is rented, some of that is owned. We grow silage corn, which is for cattle. You chop it up with a big chopper and you put it in a pile and it ferments, and that's what you feed cattle. We have grain corn, which is combined, so they just take the kernels instead of like the silage instead of the plant. We grow sugar beets, onions, pumpkin, squash, wheat, hay, beans, cilantro, tomatoes. Any and all of that list is conventional and or organic and or transitional. We'll get to that in a minute here. We have grown a lot more than that, however. We've done sweet corn, peppers, cabbage, melons. You name the vegetable, it's probably been on our property at one point in time or another. Cucumbers, forgot it. So, farming can kind of be summed up in 3 different compartments, okay? You got conventional farming. Basically, that's when you use your chemical and your biological ways to grow the crop, okay? The chemical that we use is regulated depending on the class. The chemicals are broke up into like how dangerous the chemical is, and depending on how restricted the chemical is how restricted the use is for us.
So Anna, I'm just sorry. These are three great things that you're going to talk about right now that would be great pieces of information for them to have.
Write down.
So this is something that they should probably be noting at this point. Okay.
So with the USDA and the FDA, the spraying applications and the uses are all logged. We have a book that has all sorts of regulations, where the book has to be, how quickly we have to have it all in the book, where we have to post it, who we have to tell, for all the different applications depending on the type of chemical that we use. With conventional farming, GMOs are allowed. So, write that down. Then you've got transitional. We also have some fields that are transitional right now. Transitional is the whole naturally organically grown is more for labeling, but it's an uncertified way of growing your crop in a natural state. You have to be considered transitional in order to get your ground clean from pesticide residues in order to be certified organic. That can take anywhere from 1 to 3 years, depending on what's been on the ground before then. As to how quickly the Colorado Department of Ag is willing to work with us and give us the certification. So the people there are some farms out there that consider themselves organically grown. They don't get certified. They don't go through the process with the Department of Ag, which is fine. But for us, that ground can be changed into certified organic. Certified organic is a strictly monitored way of growing crops according to USDA standards. You can only use OMRI approved or Colorado Department of Ag approved chemicals, fertilizers, and soil nutrients. Everything has to be in our plan that's submitted. Any changes that we make to our plan have to be submitted and approved by the Department of Ag before we're allowed to even put them in the field. I guess you can take the chance to put them on your crop before it's been approved, but if they deny it and they decide the chemical that you want to use is not safe or doesn't follow the Department of Ag standards, you lose your organic certification and have to start the process over. GMOs are not allowed. However, you can use hybrids in crossbreeding. So, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But as far as certified organic, the seeds that we use for the vegetables on that ground, or for the crops that we use on that ground, are either most of them are
Question.
Yeah.
So just for my own organization,
Yes.
there's 3 types of labeling then. It would be regular, organic, and certified organic.
And I'll get to that.
Okay.
Yep, I'll get to that. It is confusing. The labeling is pretty sneaky. Okay, this is a topic that I get into a lot of arguments about. I tell people that we farm, and they say, "Oh, are you organic?" Some, not all. "Oh, you really should switch all your fields to organic. It's much better." Okay, no. It's not a viable option for our farm. It's not something that I think we'll probably ever reach or ever want to reach. The population right now, and you can jump on any internet and find, 10 different populations, but basically what they're saying is anywhere between 50 to 70% more production in food within the next 20-ish years. 50 to 70% more production. Now, if there's more people, what are we losing? No, ground. We're losing ground every day, every year. We lose ground because we're building more houses, we're building more apartments. I mean, our farm gets encroached on every single year. So, if you have more people, they want more food, but we've got less ground to do it in. So the question is, how are we going to accomplish that? And that's what we're faced with on a day-to-day basis. Organic farming is great with its purposes. However, no matter what you do, you can't get the yields from organic farming that you can with conventional farming. You can't. It's just not possible. No matter what number they try and give you, you can't do it. If you look at, and we've got high yields with our organic farms, but it doesn't even come close to our conventional. So with the constraints of organic farming, large yields are not a realistic possibility. Labor is the other huge issue. The biggest thing that we use in our organic field is a guy with a hose. That job is 10 to 12 hours a day in a field. So we can't spray herbicides in organic fields. We can, but those are harder to get approved. That's not an easy position to fill, especially when you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of acres. That's a lot of weeds. So those are some of the constraints that we have on us with organic versus conventional. Labeling, write this down. If it says certified organic on it and it has the USDA seal on the label, it has been grown to the USDA standards. Okay? So that means they have followed all of the rules. They have had the Department of Ag crawling down their backs, asking for every little last piece of paper and seed packet that has ever come through the farm. And it has been grown to the specifications, checked. We get audited every year. Then we have to put in for our plan every year. If it says naturally raised, organically grown, or sometimes it'll just say organic on it, but it doesn't say that it was certified by the Colorado Department of Ag for this state meaning. If it doesn't have, it's not required to have the USDA seal, but it is required to label who certified you. If that information is not on there, that is considered a transitional product. So yes, could it have been grown organically? Absolutely. And it probably was, but it's not regulated. No one audited, no one had to check it, no one had, it's not required to follow the same specifications. It can, but it's not required to. If it's a processed food, like, I don't know, 100% organic, what's that? Chicken nuggets, yes, that's a good one. Nicely played. If it says 100% organic on it and has a little label, it is 100% organic. If it says organically grown, they are required somewhere on that packaging to tell you what percentage of the ingredients are organic and what percent aren't. So that is, I know it's at least state, I don't know if it's federal, but it's at least in the state of Colorado required for labeling. So that's something to check out too. Unless it says that, it's not. Keep in mind, here's a side note. If it says certified organic, grown in Mexico, give it a little giggle. There are very, very different standards in Mexico. They don't have to follow the same thing. They're supposed to follow the same rules, but they don't have the same regulations and the same standards that we have here. It's important to know that their country is still using chemicals that we're not even allowed to use conventionally, let alone organically. And their certification system, what? They don't have one. It's what we call a pay-to-play state. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Most of them are thought of. What is that? They're going to pay the inspectors. They're going to pay the people that they've got to pay to get it approved and get it approved. It's just how the world works.
So it may not be organic, or they're paying somebody off to say that.
They stick a sticker on it that says 100% organic.
There are no repercussions on the Mexican side. So 90% of that goes through a royalty at the border.
They check like a box or two on a truck.
As long as you know your withdrawal times and your residue times, it's a crop, you can put it at the timeline and you can be inspected from the process. So and now you can inspect the border or not. got a figure on a semi-load, if you're doing routine super, you take semi-load of ultimately, they'll pull one box out of 2,500. What's the random chance you're going to get something in that small little sample in the whole thing, even down to when you load trucks or trays, it always takes usually the first one to come off of the truck. So it's just a game. The next inside of it is a game. Because of the paperwork and all the trail and everything you have to do on this side.
And then people run out and buy, they are screaming that organic is the best way to do it.
Not only
And
that,
then they are buying
it's in your grocery store right now. You'll see these local sections right now. Well, pay attention to the label. It might still have the same person growing it on here,
But it'll
but
say
it'll
pack.
say grown for or packed for this person.
Check where it says
Mexico
packed
down
at.
on the bottom.
It was grown in Mexico and
Just the
packed
label.
here. Or vice versa.
What that comes down to also is labor availability. You can have radishes, green onions, all the really, really labor intense products that we can't afford to pay. And right now, a good wage, people in the field can be about $13, $50, $14 an hour this year. Down there, you're still $10 a day. So it's cheaper to grow it on that side of the border, pack it on that side of the border with the label from, with the
Stick it
cost,
right in the can.
and go right into the super. Now, is that done on all of them?
And is that just pink
Absolutely
super?
not.
No.
There are people that are still doing it right. Whole Foods is a little stickier on the regulations, but I'm not inspecting. It's safe, they do a really good job. They have their own
Safeway is
third
really,
party audit.
they've got their own auditing department that comes out to the field.
So we could go into this for hours here and debate why you think organic is better than conventional, and I can argue both sides of it all day long.
But that's not the sole reason why we're here. Organic versus conventional is our big sticking point because of this. Write this down. Definition of a GMO. It's an organism whose genome has been altered by the techniques of genetic engineering so that its DNA contains one or more genes not normally found there. Then they had a little note, a high percentage of food crops such as corn and soybeans are genetically modified. Really? Basically, oh, sorry. Yeah. I'll leave it up here.
Just to refresh your memory, are only crops and plants genetically modified?
No.
Remember that.
No, I don't know anything about the animal stuff. Other than,
At least they look cool the last couple of days.
I shouldn't say cool. That's not right.
There's some neat things going on. They saw it themselves on the last couple of days.
I went to CSU and they were working on splitting the girls and boys for cool stuff. That's kind of where it started.
We've heard the words over and over again. Anyway.
We go back to that. Not exactly sure what I'm on today. Are you ready?
No. Guys, you don't have to write that down word for word. Word for word. Oh, I need one.
One word? 2 words? Got it? Okay, we're going to talk more about it anyway. Okay, so how are GMOs created? Well, we don't totally know. Monsanto, Syngenta, DuPont, they all own the actual proprietary rights. That's everyone's big sticking point on GMOs, is there's not enough information out there. Bad marketing plan, great business structure. no one else can get the technology. No one else knows how to do it. The big guys are the ones that have put all the money into the research, the development, and the technology. The general idea is basically all they've given us. The DNA is altered. They found a way to do that through injecting the plants with protein or parts of a virus, or I don't know, there's a bunch of different ways that they can change the DNA makeup to create the desired effect. Okay, so basically what they do, and this is kind of a cool thing that Chris found the other day, and I don't know if you can see this, but the way that they've done it for years, and I mean hundreds of years, was to crossbreed. You've got a plant, like in the greenhouse 2 years ago, we had a virus, nasty virus, and couldn't get rid of it. I had 2 plants in 1700 that didn't get infected. Why? I don't know, but they didn't. So they're what they call resistant. They were resistant to the virus. I had a variety, another one of my greenhouses that was out yielding everything else that I had in my main greenhouse. So my manager said, let's graft it. So basically, we could take the plant that didn't get the virus and you cut it, and you take part of the plant that was yielding really well. So 2 different varieties, right? And you literally take them together and you grow a new plant, okay? And then you use those seeds and see if they yield and see if they grow. And then you use those seeds and see if they yield and see if they grow. Whether or not it accomplished what you were out to accomplish, you won't know that for a while. But that's what you're doing. You're taking a trait that you like in one plant and a trait that you like in another plant, and you're smushing them together to make a super plant, okay? So, or a super seed. That's what we want, is the seeds that we can grow our own crops. They figured out a way to take the actual DNA, and that's what they have here. That's what they have right here on the, they pulled out the actual little DNA markers that they like, okay? And they figured out a way to alter that without having to do all of this, without having to wait 4 or 5 generations for a plant that may or may not have the results that you want. Okay, there were some questions as well that didn't really fall into any of the other categories. Why do GMO sellers want to keep it a secret and not put labels on the food? We grow sugar beets. There was a bill that tried to get passed this last year to label the table sugar that you guys have if it has a genetically modified thing in it, if it's GMO. What's the percentage of GMO sugar? 100%. Okay? Yeah. So everything is GMO. Here's the kicker. They want to label the sugar that goes up, that's taken out of the sugar beet plant that we grow, and label it as a GMO product. First, you've got fear out there, right? Because everybody's scared of the GMO right now. So if they see that a product is GMO, are they going to buy it or not? No, probably not, unless they have information. But the sugar that ends up on your table is processed. The sugar beet starts off as this big, huge, it looks like a giant potato, for lack of a better description of a sugar beet. And it goes through this whole process before it turns into the sugar that ends up on your table. That protein that was altered in the GMO process of the seed is actually processed out of the plant, or of the sugar beet. So it's not in the sugar that's on your table. The GMO protein doesn't end up there.
So what you're saying is
It's in the byproduct.
genetically modified organisms,
Correct.
when they went through the processing of actually getting the sugar out from there, the GMO,
That
gene-
one protein.
the gene, the protein that was inserted isn't in the sugar that you were buying. It's the waste product.
It's in a byproduct, and that byproduct is fed to cattle, which is then only with sugar beets.
they're-
But our point was-
they're trying to break through and get a whole labeling on sugar based upon sugar beets.
Right. They thought, since there's such a large percentage, like all of it, that's modified, I think they thought that'd be an easy one to get through. The kicker is the sugar that ends up on your table that they want to label doesn't actually contain the GMO.
How long do you think GMOs will last? When was the first thing? No, it was in 20 to 25 years ago. Every one of you that's eaten,
Seedless watermelon.
no, the first thing they did was sweet. The first thing they did was sweet. So, Asian food with all their soy sauce has had GMO products in it for 20-some years. It just wasn't in the limelight of what was going on. About 5 years after they did soybeans, they came out with corn.
Roundup Ready corn.
And that's where it became more of a in-the-face thing. Then they started going into some of the vegetables. The first one they did was the seedless watermelon. And then they were doing sweet corn. When they first came out with BCG and sweet corn, it was allowed to be grown for organic at the time of regulations. So we all went from growing the GMO sweet corn that everybody loved. It was the
You didn't
first
have to
organic
spray
sweet
it.
corn that didn't have any worm on the end of it. All the processors or all people buying it loved it. And then they came out with the standard that it can't use GMO anymore. And then you had to figure out how to get organic without work. Because of GMO.
They have little worms. You don't see it because it doesn't end up in
You
your corn.
can't sell it. So you can't sell it to people who buy it. It's got a little bit of earworm right on the tip. Once in a while, you go to the grocery store, you'll see the 5-pack that have both ends chopped off. 95% of the time, the reason why they do that is because they have a field that had worms on it. And they cut the ends off and sell it.
In a pretty package.
But there's
Yeah. For worm corn.
the big reason why, I don't know if you decide to look at this question, is something as simple as a worm, one little worm, is why they're trying to do this GMO thing. You can put a protein inside the plant, each little example, that when the worm is in the plant, dies. By saying you can't use GMO for organic, you can put that same protein on the plant by spraying it on top of it in an organic setting. They have organic BT. So you can either put it into the plant
And the
and have it there and it's drying, or you have to do it. But it all comes down to, do you want to see a worm on the end of your sweet corn on your cake?
And I would say 95 of the end, what we call an end consumer, or the person that's eating it, would agree with you.
Because
They don't want the bugs, they don't want the worms, they don't want to see, they want pretty produce on their table every day.
But the only way to keep bugs out of your food is you have to battle them one way or another. Not so much chemical. You can do it with management practices. But what do you do in an organic setting when you have an epidemic of a certain bug that you can put in? You lose the entire crop. In a conventional setting, you can go in and spray the entire field and still harvest that crop. So that's it all comes down to you understanding what you're buying at the store. The amount of waste that goes into the food that you're buying,
Totally.
I would say
We have to
easily
throw away.
throw away 30% of what we produce. That's just
Because
right
it's
off
not
the bottom
pretty
line.
or has a bug in it.
Or a little bruise or a little anything. We also farm in South America, so it's a third world country where we're farming. And all the produce goes on the shelf there. Everything. They sell
You walked through the grocery store and I was like, oh, they have a basket of onions. There's one like this big and then there's one like this big and the potatoes are black. They haven't even taken the dirt off of them. the onions still have the roots attached, and I walk in and I'm like, looks like my sorting shed. You know?
We make standards that are so high that, just like you said, you're 100%. You don't want that worm on the end of your people. Now, the transition is the organic community wants to see that worm. And they're not going to see that worm for
They don't, they still won't buy
no,
it.
there's a big thing, for example, industry, they want proof that 1 out of 10 to 15 over the live, so if they prove it's not easy. And what you're farming organic is with conventional pesticides, you won't have that one. What's that one going to affect the property? You never even see it. So you're right. But it makes that one won't put you. It's no different than you. Plus, when you boil a sweet corn,
Most of them go away anyway.
not
Once you
saying
wash
you
it or
don't
boil it.
Don't take it as now, but I'm just saying, what is it gonna hurt? We have a level that we've been asked to provide, that every year, somebody finds a way to do better. And do better. Just like cars, just like tractors, just like your shoes. They're doing things better. They're doing things I don't know about your shoes. It's what you want to buy as a consumer. But if you're not educated in what's good and bad, how do you know?
So there was several times there was a theme of this next question in the 6 pages of questions. Are GMOs bad for the environment? Well, I think we kind of, what? Why? Why do you think they're bad for the environment?
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
That's fair. Why would they change the plant so that a plant that or an animal that relies on that plant would die? Other than the insects and bugs. Is that what you're talking about?
So you fill off a whole treatment because the proteins are changed.
So if it's, I guess that's kind of where we stand.
Is it all right that we're kind of doing some questions or not?
Okay, yeah. We don't have all conventional food. And I think there's a place for organic. And that's one of them, is to keep that food chain in place. For us, one second, there's a chemical aspect of conventional farming that I think personally is more harmful to the environment. We had a field of sweet corn again 4 years ago, that one was a GMO field and one was a non-GMO field. The GMO field, we sprayed none. Yeah, we didn't spray it, ever. The non-GMO field, however, we sprayed every other day for the last 2 weeks before we harvested it. Every other day, we had to fly it with a plane.
No, that's also, when you do that, when you spray a pesticide over the top, you're killing everything. All the beneficial, all what you're targeting. So you throw the whole system out of whack. The GMO side of it only targets one little aspect.
Problem bug.
The one problem bug, which is the worm that you didn't want to hit restrict on, we've eliminated that out of the system, which would save the whole spectrum and not have any right. We also happen to work around it and work within it. I live the dream. I'm the one that's on the ground every day, walking through the field.
Mixing the chemicals.
There's
spraying
residue, there's carryover, there's the random crop duster that gets the wrong field where he's not supposed to be. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. And you're out in the field and they can't play with it. So is it worth having some trade-off? or kill everything. That's the debate I think that the whole world is trying to have is what's the upside and downside of GMO? Do we want to target that one little pest and lose a part of the ecosystem? Or do you want to go with it? Farmers call it the scorched earth policy. You're basically killing everything to kill one more.
Does that make sense? We still have
And you're sacrificing the working there, the ground,
the water,
all the pesticides
Water
go
supply,
into your water
soil,
supply. Because
carry over from next year.
we all share the same water supply. It's,
Those chemicals stay in the ground. So
now am I
every time
saying
you
that
spray them,
GMO is
they're still
the
there.
option? Don't get me wrong, I did not think GMO was. How do we know what it's gonna do in 50 years? We don't. But do we want to go with the harshest chemical form in the next 50 years, or eliminate a lot of the chemicals and play with something that evolution does on its own? You have varieties that you can toss here and get the same thing.
What was your question?
You know what, just 1 second.
Yeah.
You guys are squirming and get antsy. Let's just take five minutes and let him just kind of stand up and sit down and then we'll have him sit back down again. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Wait, no, take
Ryan, do you know what this is? Do you know that why that's on there? Why is that on there?
lot of.
That's really sensitive. You can see my shoe, my leg.
Oh my gosh.
Funny. Yeah, my suitcase. You should see that. Like, as soon as I cut it, I was like, oh, dang, I shook my hand off. And then she's like, you might want to wash that off. I'm like, no, I'm just trying to take the wood off. She's like, no, your hand went.
I can't. I just.
Sorry that you're sad. Hey, that's weird. You just suck a chip and then you spit it out. You spit it, I just ate it. Yeah, bro. Just asking. Don't bite into it. It's hard. I actually brought my water bottle.
Are people messing with it?
Mark, so Mark.
All right. You guys, we've got 30 minutes before we have lunch. There's some great questions, some great conversations, some great insights that you guys are providing, and I'm loving that. I appreciate your attention. I appreciate that you're taking notes. I appreciate the active listening technique that you said that everyone should have. I'm noticing that, so thank you. So 30 more minutes. Let's give them our attention. Pay attention to the questions. We got to be here. Come back there. Jacob, can you come back there? I know. Real quick.
Okay, I know we've got some really good questions as well, but I'm gonna bust these out and then we can open the rest of it to you guys and questions. How do the crops get inserted with modifiers? I want to make sure you guys understand that it's not our crops that we're inserting with modifiers. Okay, the plant itself, we buy the seed. Okay, we buy the tech. We have to pay for the technology every year. But that's all done by the seed company. They're doing the breeding. They're modifying the DNA of the seed, and then they reproduce those seeds. And that's what we purchase. Okay. Okay, what's your example?
So like corn, you don't just have to buy one that's just for the root one. You can buy corn without the root one gene in it. We've got a gene now that's for drought, that the corn uses 30% less water. Or you can buy one that is only for a targeted herbicide field and doesn't have the root one or the drought. You can buy each individual package and you can put them all in and you pay more. But the basic is going field by field, farm by farm, and saying what works best in this scenario, what can I buy? And that's what you're paying for the technology.
You're kind of on the modifiers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And figuring out which modifier was best for your area, your environment, your ecosystem.
And then that's the seed that we purchase.
When do you do that?
We start on it probably a year in advance. We have to have most orders placed by December for going into this year. Want the really good stuff, you've got to have it done last summer already.
Because of high demand.
You've got the best variety to go for.
And they only make so much.
So if there's a crop failure somewhere, because somebody has to grow the extra seed crop. So you're counting on other areas of the world, not just the United States, everywhere. South America, Australia, Hawaii, goes into. And they have to know how much they need to try to produce and how much they need to have for each region to stay ahead of it. So we have to look at it as, where am I going to have my rotation next year? Crop rotation schemes or managing pests where you're not just bombarding around with the same crop field. So we look at it as, what's best for each farm? What traits do I want to buy? What traits don't I want to buy? Do I even need a trait? No, we still use a lot of stuff that has absolutely nothing.
And our organic fields can't. You know, we do still have close to 1,000 acres that is certified organic, so they can't have it. So we're really on kind of a, I don't know, a very fine line between, you know, what we can do, what we can't do, and where we can do it. Are GMOs bad for you? That was another pretty consistent question that I saw. So my answer is, I don't think so. We're going to change the genes somehow. Whether we change the genes by crossbreeding, whether we change the genes by changing the genetic makeup physically with a needle or with a viral modification or however it is that they change that gene, they're going to change the gene. Whether it takes a year to do or 10 years to do, we still need that modification of the plant in order to continue growing the crop and to continue increasing our yield. Like you said, we don't know, what, 20 years worth of research? We don't have 100. So, I mean, I guess something can always come out 50 years from now. So that answer, I think I wouldn't want to 100% tell you it is safe. However, we can't say it's harmful. If you get on any internet and they say it's bad for you, why? Well, there's a protein in it. Okay. Well, isn't that protein the same thing that you eat over here? Well, yeah. Okay. I read one article a couple days ago that said there was a protein was injected into a GMO product that was causing an allergic reaction. So it was a protein out of a high allergy, another plant. And all I could think of was, okay, so they're allergic to that protein, right? And I understand if it's been genetically modified, they may not understand that that protein is in there. But once you find out that you're allergic to that product, I would assume you would eat it anymore. And you could go to that product being a certified organic product where you know there's going to be removed. If there are certain things that you're allergic to or that your own body doesn't do well with, maybe that's a product you want to stick with certified organic. There's a place for it. There's a place for organic products. Is it everywhere? I don't think so, nor do I think it's viable. Then this is back to you. What's your favorite thing to grow on the farm?
I love growing. I don't know how to put it into perspective for you guys, what it's like to grow a crop or what. But I can compare it to the guy who was just asking about his hunting and what it feels like to go win the championship in that thing. Or whatever you guys won last time together. So that's what we feel like when we've got an awesome field that looks great. We harvest it, and then I can go to King Super and see my product on the shelf. Yes, it might not have my name on it anymore because I go through marketing organizations with a broader spectrum, but it's the most challenging. Like taking the hardest class you can take and having it change daily based on the version. Every day I walk the fields, I live in the fields, because it's like trying to raise a bunch of children to get up the wall. How do you make every one of them look perfect? So it doesn't have a little worm on the end of it. So the guy at the end down there doesn't say, I don't want to buy it. That's what farming is. It's my hobby. That's what I do.
Onions into perspective, on our scale, we grow anywhere from 300 to 400 acres of onions.
To me, that's what I've grown about anything you can imagine. We've done it any way you can imagine. Greenhouse setting, on top of plastic, irrigation, sprinklers, different soils, different states. We're attempting to do it in South America right now on the same level. It's just challenging. It is my game.
Like when you decide to have it.
Absolutely. And if I tweak this little thing, then I've got to watch what changes I get. But my evolution takes a year. And if I change that one little thing, I might not know until the last thing when we harvest.
Now, what was the question?
Okay,
What
down
was
here,
the question that you wanted to answer?
ask your question again after. No, the second. If you ask with the GMO, why don't we just grow it in different areas so that we don't kill all the bugs, right?
Where it can't go air.
But you're absolutely right. They've actually done that with the GMO trees to make it to where we don't kill every single bug. So inside a bag of seed now, you can buy 85% GMO, 15% absolutely no trait to it. So the worms, as they're going along, some will stop and eat on the ones that don't have any traits, and they'll actually reproduce and crop. But you don't have this mass migration that kills the entire crop because 85% of it does have traits. That way you keep the beneficials and some bugs going, but you don't have an epidemic that you have to come under control with harsher insecticides. So it's a good question. We have the technology, it's just all done within the same area. And we have to have buffer zones. We have to guarantee, document, and show that if we use a trait on 100 acres here, we've got 25 acres within a mile that has absolutely nothing in it. So that if the trait inside the bag doesn't work, there's still the zone where the bugs and stuff are thriving so that you don't kill the whole. You're right on the money.
What is easy to do?
GMO or organic? Organic, you have a very, very limited capacity to kill something. So I can compare it to, say you get ants in your house, and you want to kill the ants because at night they're crawling on your bed. If you're 100% organic, how are you going to do it? Right? But when they get so out of control, are you going to keep trying to find organic ways, or are you finally just going to call an exterminator to come in, bomb the house, put them out, so that you can live them? That's basically the theory. You can control little things, but to control things on a big spectrum is something that's really out of hand. You can't do it together.
The biggest thing with GMO to keep in mind, our biggest pro for GMOs is less chemical. Okay, we fight. If you look at the cancer rates among farmers, like his dad, like his grandfather, bladder kidney, it's one of the highest cancer rates out of any profession out there. With exposure.
My dad died at 50 years old. They attributed 100% of it to exposure to chemicals.
The GMOs allow us to not use the high amounts of nasty chemicals
Here's comparison. If you use a GMO corn, you spray it one time with one chemical, maybe two chemicals. They're pretty normal. You see them on TV, round up with a little bottle going around, spray into your sidewalk. I think is what it shows. That's the base of what we do. You use it at home. To grow it without the GMO in it, you might have to use 8, 9 different chemicals that can reach into the groundwater, that can pick up and move laterally if it's the wrong condition. You can feel like you're putting flowers around it. Bees, that kind of stuff. So
And we're exposing our employees ourselves.
I don't have to be around as much chemical. The guys don't have to be around it, and I don't have to go and look at my kids when I'm 50 years old and say I'm not going to go out. I live with it. But I also have to produce on an economical basis where my farm makes money. And that's what we have to find.
What kind of food do you grow in the
I don't grow anything.
I grow the green. He doesn't like the greenhouse. Yes, tomatoes, we grow heirloom tomatoes, and we grow cucumbers. And then we do all of your onion transplants. You're welcome. We did all of his certified organic onion transplants that then, like the little plugs, I got a picture of them, but the little plugs then get put into the ground in our organic field by hand. That's a long process. But that's what we do. Where? Go for it.
Are you able to taste the difference between GMO foods and organic food?
It's a plant. A plant is a plant is a plant. You're getting the same crop.
Now I will say that we were sitting at a dinner the other night, we were eating cucumbers, and I can guarantee you 100% cucumbers are using hydroponics. They use fish guts.
He hands it to me. He goes, "This is a hydroponic cucumber," and I was like, "What?" He goes, "Swear, you gotta get it." He was like,
They use fish guts for fertilizer. So they put fish guts into the water. That's what the plants take up. But that's an organic setting. That's the only thing you have organically is manure, ground up fish remnants, some seaweed type things that you have to put into the plant to make them grow. That's how you get your nitrogen, optimal nitrogen. But you can taste it. It just reeked of fish. So we use the water they were growing in and just smell.
"Felt the dirt, pull that out." Make sure.
Sorry. So you said that back to Christian's question, like a plant is a plant, you can't really tell the difference. But don't you take out part of the seed and put it in another to change the taste?
You can. And they do have, I mean, I see what your point is. They do have different genes that they can change to modify the taste of the plant and make it so that it tastes better, sweeter, or whatever.
But you can do that with just regular crossbreeding. That's how originally, before GMO was around, it's called a hybrid. Went from an original seed stock that only had one trait. And we found that one plant that was different, and then we crossbred and did a hybrid. And they can change taste based on that. They can change characteristics of it. You can make a carrot go from orange to red to white just by how you breed them. That's how they originally got an orange carrot, was they had white and one other color in Europe. You could do that hundreds of years ago, and they didn't work. They didn't need GMO to do it. It's just crossbreeding.
You guys sell your like products at stores.
Do we?
Yeah.
Yes. We sell through brokers mostly.
You
But
go
our
direct to consumers.
Walmart.
Walmart, you'll see under Tigerberg produce. The only thing right now that you can see on the store shelf, you guys go to the store shelf tonight, there's the onion section, buy a little 3-pound bag, on it it'll say Tigerberg produce on it.
Or yellow.
The last 2.5 months, everything has been running through this packing facility is my onions, so I can say what's in through the line. Other than that, we're out of season, so we're just kind of,
Keep your trunk kid or keep your trunk deeper. All right.
Like, would you, any of you guys' products, like, do, like, stuff that you grow, do anything, like, have to have, like, special care or, like, extra, like, attention to, like, be, like, have, like,
extra water on them or like extra air?
Okay, so I can draw a chart, but we'll do it. Wheat and corn, you see it everywhere. When you're out driving around, it's 9 times out of 10 what you consume as your wheat and corn. Very easy. If you want to stair step and come up, you go into onions, potatoes, kind of flat, harder to grow. Then you get into the very meticulous vegetables. The vegetables are the hardest things to grow. They take the most time, they take the most effort, they change day to day. What worked yesterday, what worked today. You spoon feed them on a daily basis with fertilizer, water. I've got a team of agronomists that works for me and with me. I not only scout the fields every day, I have guys that's all they do. Looking for plant health, plant nutrition. We deal one-on-one with CSU. We farm all the way around their research farm. We do a lot of testing on places because plants change so fast. Now, corn and wheat can do that also, but not so drastically. You saw it when it's pretty easy to get it to that result. Vegetables, I could have a 3 to 4 onions a day, and tomorrow it's all gone. Just because the fungus came in overnight, and I can't kill it again. It's done, it's over with, we're out all the month. Conventionally, we can usually mitigate the problem. We can't still lose the cost of conventional.
So that's why you said yields are less in organic.
Correct. You can't get to it fast enough, and then we've got to get it approved through the Department of Ag in order to use it. If there is anything, we had a virus that came through, well, we had a fungus too, but we had a virus that came through my greenhouse, and I couldn't get a hold of the Department of Ag. I sent, I don't know, 4,000 emails, please approve this, please approve this. I didn't want to spray it on my crop. I was looking at losing the crop either way. You know, if I sprayed it and it wasn't approved, I lose my certification. If I don't spray it, I'm going to lose my crop. So
Hold on. When you hear her say spray in an organic setting, it's totally different. It's not a compound that's being made by a chemical company. Usually it's a formulation of Roundup, Williams, or fish gut, or even down to you were buying milk from a dairy that's organic, pouring it over the plants, and that had some reaction.
it slowed the protein of the virus down. So we actually had to cover my tomato plants in organic milk.
And then the smell is rot inside it.
Rotten milk at 124 degrees. Yummy.
You guys, you sell that. You sell GMO.
Yep.
And non-GMO, organic, and non-organic.
Correct.
So why? Why, if you're talking about the yields getting higher and less pesticides and seeds and all these things, why are you going to do both?
Because it's what they want. What the consumers want at the end of the day. Well, but that's where the money comes from, would be from the consumers.
If you don't want to deal with all the hassles, the harder it is to produce, the less options you have, the more you're going to get. If it's really easy, very common, very mainstream, the margin is like this. I mean, we're talking $10 an acre profit. That's where you have to turn into a huge commercial farm. Huge. I mean, besides that, I think these guys in the West for 20, 30, 40,000. Go down into South America, someone will live for that $10. Now, we can do the same thing inside their greenhouse in 3,000 square feet, what we do on 5,000 acres. Why not? Why not find a way to make our guys more efficient, utilize ground that we're not using? It's all on. We have to make it work. We have to. That's how we put food on the table. We have to assess what's the best for rotation for the ground, what makes it make money, what makes my guys money. I've got some guys that are working like that guy. We all grew up together within the years. Some of us been there for 14, 15 years old, working full time. That I have to worry about their families and their kids now. And I don't want to let them down. So that's why we took the approach of organic's better on some things, GMO is better on some things. What's the middle ground? How do we make money across the spectrum?
And it's consumer driven. It's what they're willing to pay for. Question.
So is Roundup ready for good and bad?
Good. For GMO. Like,
Roundup Ready gave us the ability to kill every noxious weed out there at one point before some of the weeds came in. Roundup is class 1 chemical, I think they rate it. You don't even need an applicator's license. I have a certified applicator's license. I can buy their nasty stuff. But Roundup is the same stuff. You go out and they show it on TV and it hurts me. The little hand spray thing that you see them shoot the
We
little
have to wear full
dandelion.
pen suits and
The
goggles.
guy,
and gloves.
the guy on TV not even wearing a pair of gloves. And the label on Roundup says you need to have long sleeve shirts, shoes, and gloves. And here they're advertising on national TV of the guy spot spraying. But that shows you that it's less toxic. It's not going to hurt you if you live next to the farm next to you. Versus, I put a chemical out there that's going to be in the air, going to be in the soil for the next 72 hours, and your dog gets out, your parents run around, you decide to go run out into my field. Right past the signs that say, do not enter, because you just think it's a field next to your house. And I make you sick. Because we were trying to kill target posts that we had to use some really nasty stuff on.
So Roundup Ready makes so that we don't have to spray as many of those chemicals and put it in the air and in the ground.
I think Roundup is it has a 12-hour REI, which is re-entry into it. It's very, very applicator friendly, doesn't need,
But for the genes,
very,
the
very,
Roundup Ready
very
is
safe.
still.
So, you know, if you were to be 18 years old and I hired you to work on my farm, I would rather you work around the environment than that, than having some of the other stuff that we have to do, because I have to worry about what happens to you.
Question.
I have, two questions. The first one is there a limited amount of crops you can grow?
Of GMO and non-GMO?
You can put, we have acreage based on,
Limited on our acreage.
we're only limited on the scale of what we're willing to farm. Now, the transitional period of going from conventional to organic, usually it's 3 years unless you take the system and you can play some games within the rules, you can get it down to a year. But I can't just say this year I'm going to go 100% organic. I have to do 3 years of adjustment. So I'm only limited based upon acreage. As far as what crop you grow, sky's the limit, whatever we really want to do. It's all
For the
market-
environment
it's market
here,
driven.
for the growing environment, you know, we've only got so many like days, but to work with. So
We can't grow pineapple. It's just what's.
we can in the greenhouse.
Nice, nicely played.
Thank you.
Yeah, and, you guys.
Do we eat our own crops? Yes. If he remembers to bring them home. I've had to buy my own crops before at the store.
Honestly, I'd rather, I don't know, do the store buy something from
We know what went into it.
the store. I know what they use down there. I know how it's safe it is. I know their food safety standards are, there are none. And
But
I
it's
don't want
all
to
you
get off
can
on a
buy this
tangent because there could be somebody in here that has from New Mexico that I'm offending. Sorry, but.
You're saying that if we go to East today and we buy organic, huh?
It's a porking super.
I know.
It's just right.
Yeah.
So pick a piece of break and we buy organic and go through that organic food from Mexico right now. Pretty much you're not really buying organic.
I would say it could be. They're getting better, but they do not, they have
They
no
can't.
regulations on there, they have no, it's not what it was before, but it is still pretty scary what they do.
What about other countries?
Peru is pretty safe for the most part. A lot of your Peruvian asparagus is coming from there right now, the onions are coming out of Peru. Most of your fruits, Brazil, you won't see too much of it. You're going to New Mexico, Chile, Peru, even Arizona and Florida.
So, just based on like farmers, because you guys said that because of Monsanto and DuPont, like they're not letting you guys know how they're,
They're not releasing the technology. It's all proprietary.
right,
That's their patent.
That's their business.
it's their patent, right? Like, so they're not allowing you
They
to.
own that certain trait. And then they build it to the chemical.
Right.
So that only their trait will work with their chemical. And that's the part that they've been patented for 15 years.
Great business.
When Monsanto first came out with the Roundup Ready, it went for 15 years. Now, if you look and really be able to do research, you'll see that the gene they're using is Roundup Ready too. That's what Monsanto went to. They changed it just a little so that you have to go to a newer formulation of the chemical, or you have all the other companies, Syngenta, DuPont, Bayer, are using Roundup Ready, but it's the old technology. And it doesn't work as well because over time, through the evolution of natural breeding and everything else, you build up resistances to weeds and chemicals. And what worked good 15 years ago isn't working so well now.
Right.
Unless you move on to the next
It goes back to technology. The computer that you had 5 years ago is ridiculous. Just the phone that you have this year probably looks a heck of a lot different than it did, well, maybe not with you, but your parents, maybe. But, 2 years ago, your phone now, it's obsolete technology. We're dealing with the same thing with GMOs.
Technology is huge. I mean, if you get it to come up, I can pull up the screen and put a map on it, and I can show you where the 5 tractors running right now. And it's mapping exactly where they are. We have the ability to trace every last thing that we're doing. If I'm using my chemical applicator, it'll show down to.
You guys want to see the spray rig?
Yes.
How we're within sub-inch accuracy, where it turned on the chemical, where it turned off, what we were applying, what day, what it was like. And it all goes into a computer software package. We have the technology where it drives the tractor, around for us. We have a lot better features. And if we get them up,
Our
we might
computer system crashed last night. Yeah. That one gets really weird when you make it bigger. That's our spray rig.
Now, when you guys see that, everybody's going to sit here and go, ooh, chemical. Right? First thing you think of.
Oh, you know what it is?
That's a hormone. We're applying the fertilizer with a hormone that's 100% organic compound that's put on it. But how does the average person driving down the road know that? They don't. It's information. It's being educated on what we're always applying to do and always bad.
Those are onions.
You guys have oil rigs?
No.
We don't, no, they're close to us, they're getting closer, but we don't have any on these. We've got property that we farm that they've done already, but they're all property.
We have time for one more. You have your hand up. My mom in the morning says, wash your fruit off with water to get pesticides off. Does that work?
For one, there should be no pesticide on it, if it was applied right and done by anybody that cares. But the biggest reason they're telling you to wash your produce is if it came in contact with E. coli, feces, somebody that didn't wash their hands.
Handling is the biggest
There
issue with
should
produce,
be absolutely
not
zero,
pesticides.
zero tolerance for residue on your apple or on whatever you eat. If it happens, which I'm really doubtful of, it doesn't happen anymore. That is one thing that they test harder than anything on, is chemical
Pesticide residue testing, but how many people pick that apple up in the
between
store
A and B.
before you actually picked it up and put it in your bag?
What you-
That's what I would be afraid
How
of.
many people can say,
I'd bring Roundup before I do
how
that.
many people can say that they've heard of people killed because of Roundup, or people killed because of E. coli? You're washing because of E. coli. That's good.
No.
I just have one quick thing. You have to be a scientist, you have to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a technologist, developing technology, businessman, a manager, a leader, just to run your farm.
And I run along behind him with papers going,
I'd say the biggest challenge we have as farmers right now, this day and age, is labor. Nobody wants to do what we do.
They don't wanna work 8-hour days.
backbreaking work sucks sometimes. When my kids want to go somewhere in the summer, I have to say no because I can't do that. I have to be there from the minute the seeds go in until every last thing is harvested because kids change so much. It's out in the hot. It's at times very defeating because you watch a hailstorm come through and wipe out every last ounce of the that you put your work into all year long, and you know that you're not going to have any payback at all. It's a challenge that very, very few people are willing to take the risk of that. How many people are willing to say that I'm going to go out and I'm going to put $12 million on the line, and one hailstorm comes through and wipes it all off, and you get zero back? I'm not rich. I've built what I have, but it's like going to Vegas and throwing it all on the table and saying red.
The second year we were married, he came home after a hailstorm. He said, well, if we'd taken $500,000, jumped on a plane, walked into the first casino we saw, put it all on red or black, we would have had better odds. And I went, for me. It's held true.
It's in my blood. I do it because it's all I know. It's all I love. It's what my family for years. And it's the only thing that excites me. I compare it back to your hockey. You love playing hockey. You get a rush while you're out there skating out. And you score that goal, go around, high five everybody. It's awesome. To me, there's a competition between myself and other farmers. And we've got some of the coolest cooking you've ever seen. I can talk for days.
So,
I can go lunch.
take the lunch.
But
If there's other questions,
If you guys have questions, you want to come up and chat with them,
or shoot me an email if you end up with questions.
Yeah.
Hey, give them a round of applause.
Yeah.